Last winter, I rented a cheap little cabin in the Adirondacks for a weekend alone. It wasn't much, just a one-room shack. No electricity, no plumbing. The kind of place you only book if you really want to disappear for a while. The first night was calm. The wood stove cracked softly. Outside, the forest was absolutely still. But around midnight, I woke up to a sound. A slow, steady scraping. Like nails dragging across the wall. At first, I told myself it had to be a branch swaying in the wind. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside. But the trees? Every single one was still. Not a branch moving. The second I opened the door, the noise stopped. I went back inside, locked it, and tried to sleep. But around 2 in the morning, it started again. Closer this time. Right against the wall beside my bed. I didn't close my eyes again that night. I just sat there, listening, until the sun came up. When I finally built up the courage to step outside, I saw the siding of the cabin, covered in scratches, deep, long, deliberate, and they weren't random. They formed words, just 3 of them, like something had been waiting all night to tell me, "Let me in." 2 summers ago, my buddy and I went hiking in Washington State. The plan was to camp overnight, but a storm rolled in fast. We were soaked, cold, desperate for shelter. That's when we saw it. A cabin, way off the trail. It looked abandoned. Boards over the windows, porch half collapsed. But the door was unlocked. Inside, it was empty and dry. We lit a lantern. That's when we noticed the walls. They weren't bare wood. They were carved. Hundreds of marks, symbols, spirals, stick figures. Faces with their eyes gouged out. Some had dates etched beside them. The most recent was only a week old. That night, I woke to the sound of footsteps on the porch. Then, knocking. Not on the door, but on the window, right beside where I slept. I sat up. The lantern flickered, then died. The knocking came again, then again, circling the cabin. Faster and faster, until suddenly, it stopped. We didn't move. We didn't sleep. We just waited for daylight. And when the sun finally rose, the walls were bare. No carvings, no symbols. Like it had never been there at all. We packed fast and left. But when we turned back from the trail, the cabin was gone. Just trees. I've gone back since then. Same path, same markers. But that cabin doesn't exist anymore. A few years ago, I rented a cabin in rural Maine to work on a writing project. It was way out in the woods, miles from town. No neighbors, no cell service. Exactly the kind of isolation I thought I needed. The first 2 nights were perfect. Quiet. Peaceful. I actually got work done. But on the 3rd night, around 3 a.m., I woke to a sound in the kitchen. A chair, dragging slowly across the floor. I thought maybe I'd forgotten to lock the door. My chest was tight as I grabbed a flashlight and crept down the hallway. The kitchen was empty, but one of the chairs was pulled out from the table. I pushed it back, locked every door and window, and turned. That's when I caught something in the glass. A reflection. Not mine. Someone standing behind me. I spun around. Nothing. The next morning I checked my phone and found photos I didn't take. Pictures of me, sleeping, in my bed. That night I tried to stay awake, but at some point, I drifted off. When I opened my eyes, the room was dark, and I heard whispering. Dozens of voices, all around me. The windows were fogged, like people had been breathing against the glass. And written in the condensation were 3 words. "You're not alone." At sunrise, I ran, left everything behind, my clothes, my laptop, all of it. 2 weeks later, the rental company emailed me. They said I'd left my belongings at the wrong property. The cabin I'd booked had burned down in 1987.